Hello and welcome to the Otaku Network Podcast. My name is Steve.
And I'm David.
And I'm Paul.
And we have a guest with us today as we do our third side quest episode, and we review the seminal 1990s anime Ninja Scroll. So Paul and I are of the same age bracket and similar anime viewing and fandom
menace
trajectory. And David has yet to see Ninja Scroll, which is one of the top titles that influenced a legion of horny teenage boys in the 90s to get into Japanimation, as some idiots called it back then.
Had yet to see. I have now received this emotional scar.
Yeah, so we just sat down and watched it. The movie came out in 93, and it is set mid-1500s.
17.
Mid-1600s, 17th century.
Yeah.
Beginning of the Tokugawa shogunate. So the main character, Jubei, is based lightly off of a real human being who existed as a expert swordsman under the third Tokugawa shogun. So 1660s or so, something like that.
All of this was confirmed by the eating of a tomato during the movie.
Very basically, the plot of the story is Jubei is a bit of a wandering swordsman. He ends up rescuing a damsel in distress from a monstrous being. The monstrous being is part of a shadowy group of ninjas who work for
one of the 8... what's their name? I can't remember now.
Was it the Devils of Kinmon?
Yes, one of the 8 Devils of Kinmon.
There's a group of disaffectionate landowners who are trying to reinstate the shogunate under Toyotomi. After Toyotomi, I forget his first name, had successfully unified Japan, he ruled it for quite a while, tried to invade Korea twice, died, and had, I believe it was either his grandson or his really young son be the heir. First Tokugawa was like, cool. Nope, never mind. I'm going to take it for myself. And thus was born the Tokugawa shogunate. So we have this group led by a person who calls himself the Shogun of the Dark.
Shogun of the Dark.
Very edgelordish. Who has desires to reinstate the Toyotomi family as the true rightful rulers of unified Japan. Jubei kills the guy, rescues the girl, and a wizened old ninja spy of the Tokugawa shogunate coerces him into helping him with a mission to investigate this group of devil ninjas. First thing he tells him is that the devil ninjas aren't going to let it go that he killed one of their own, and the other thing he tells him is that he poisoned him to force him to work with him, and he'll give him the antidote at the end of the successful mission, or he'll just die. To further entice him, he finds out that the leader of the 8 devil ninjas is a man from his past who should not be alive, that dealt with some betrayals when the clan he was working with had a secret gold mine and yada yada plot. So, Ninja Scroll is essentially a tour de force influenced by 80s Hollywood and 70s samurai.
Now that you actually have described the plot, I realize there actually is a plot to this movie. David, what did you think of the plot of this movie?
The whole thing takes place in like a 24-hour time period.
The plot is just non-existent.
The whole plot and time frame of this movie is ridiculous because it happens during, as Steve said, a 24-hour. I say probably more like a 36-hour time span.
Sure, it pretty much ends at dawn of the second day after the second night. And
Jubei gets fucked up on a ridiculous amount of occasions. He gets punched through a stone lantern. He gets crushed by snakes. He gets strangled and beaten, and at the end of the movie he gets thrown through a ship multiple times, inside the ship obviously, and he still gets up. He got hit in the head with a piece of balsa wood.
Jubei in all theory is really just an analog for for Rambo. He even looks like Rambo.
Makes sense.
He goes through all of the punishing physicality of Rambo. Like, I mean, come on, what was it, Rambo 3, where he fucking cauterizes his own wound from a gunshot?
I literally didn't make it through Rambo 3.
Oh, you're not missing a goddamn thing.
I own it, but I didn't make it through it. I had it on while I was cleaning my kitchen one day.
In the 90s, with the dawning of anime as a medium to be sold to the masses, the production companies leaned pretty heavily into gratuitous nudity and gratuitous action for the titles that they brought over to America, because they figured the perfect target audience are horny teenagers, and that's about it.
Boy, howdy, did they hit it.
You know, kids like Paul and I, who grew up in the hypermasculinity of the 80s with all of the action heroes.
Yeah.
And it just rolls into everything. I mean, a lot of the anime was made in the 80s too that we were introduced to, like another film made by the same person, Wicked City.
Mm-hmm. I own that movie.
Or obviously Akira is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Or we have maybe the tender violence of Vampire Hunter D, maybe.
Yeah, Vampire Hunter D. You've got Ghost in the Shell.
Well, Ghost in the Shell came out a little bit later.
But it's in the same, like, you'd find it on your local Blockbuster video on the same shelf. You'd find it with Appleseed, Pat Labor, New Dominion Tank Police, Angel Cop, Violence Jack. I could just continue to list off Manga Entertainment's entire catalog, because that's what Manga Entertainment was known for, which is the people who released this movie. Manga Entertainment had the hyper-realistic, hyper-violent, hyper-sexualized, just everything a teenage boy wanted and an extra stick of butter.
And some that had comedy with the titties too, like New Dominion Tank Police.
Yep. And that's how this film came along, is that it was sitting on the shelf in an unrestricted section at Blockbuster, because they put all of the animation together, because they were like, animation's for kids.
Yeah, that really only lasted for like a year, and then the whatever...
In my town, it lasted for a little more than a year, but then again, it also like just moved over to the foreign film section, which again was unrestricted.
I don't know. I remember walking into a Blockbuster and seeing their little "not for kids" sticker on a tape of Robotech.
Oh, that didn't show up for a long time for me.
So Ninja Scroll is one of those seminal anime for what I like to refer to as the second generation of American otaku. All the kids who got into it in the early and mid 90s. So I came into so I haven't watched it since the 90s. And I came into the rewatch expecting to be more critical of it than I think I am. It's a one-dimensional film that relies on, especially for its time, gratuitous shock factor violence and sexual assault. Well, the sexual assault wasn't even really that gratuitous in comparison to something like any number of the hentai titles that existed in the same time.
Correct.
Like La Blue Girl.
Correct.
But I mean, that's like trying to compare the gratuitousness of...
It's apples and oranges. I assume you're trying to say it's exactly what you thought it was.
No. I do not... The level of dislike I have for it is not as high as I thought I was going to have.
Okay,
Coming back to it after probably 25 years, and my likes and opinions and standards in anime have drastically changed.
Mm-hmm.
The art isn't as good, honestly. It's a pretty shallow palette.
Still good.
The character designs are really garbage, but I never liked the characters' designs in the first place. Like I pointed out, the woman who uses the snake hypnotism magic, her face looks like Kaiji.
Her face is stereotypical Manga Entertainment woman bad guy.
Yeah,
you're not saying much about that.
And the massive chins.
Yeah,
like
as our friend David has said, that chin has its own zip code.
Yeah, the primary villain Genma's chin looks like
Chad.
It looks like a geographical feature.
He looks like Joe Swanson if Joe Swanson did steroids and powerlifted.
You could have literally put this guy in a JoJo anime. It probably would have overshadowed the exaggerated JoJo look. So from what you're saying, I came back into it, again, probably the same as you. I haven't watched it since I bought it.
Sure.
Like I bought it, I watched it like maybe 3-4 times, and I bought it probably from Blockbuster as they were selling off all their VHS tapes.
Yeah, in what, like 99?
Yeah, whatever that was, making room for all their DVD sales. Yep. I came back into it pretty much expecting it to be exactly what I came out of it. It's the same movie. It's very...
Oh, yeah.
It's very, like you said, it's very one-dimensional. it's definitely a popcorn movie. It's
Yes.
definitely a movie where you sit down, you watch it, you had a good time, and that's the end of it.
I think-
The one thing I did come out of it saying, which is I realize why I don't remember it as fondly as I would have liked to, and that's because the movie moves so fast through 8 bad guys, even though it feels like it's 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's only an hour
The
and a half.
movie goes through all of the bad guys and all of the people and all of the things, and it just takes. It doesn't give you the satisfaction of knowing the villains, of knowing the good guys, of knowing anything really. It just kind of it sets you on this roller coaster ride with zero explanation, and you leave with zero explanation. In fact, the end scene of the movie is the opening scene of the movie.
The only characters we get any sort of depth to is Jubei, with a little bit of his shared history that he has with the protagonist Genma. And then you learn a little bit about Jubei's love interest.
You mean antagonist?
Yes, antagonist. Sorry. How do you know who I was rooting for? Maybe I'm down to taking down the Tokugawa shogunate. Yeah, the antagonist, Genma.
Remonster had more plot than this movie.
More plot.
The plot.
I mean, the
this
plot
movie
of Remonster is leveling up and spawning.
is still more than this movie.
The plot of this movie is literally taking down bad guys and calling it a day.
The plot of this movie is preventing a group of people from overthrowing the government due to quote-unquote illicitly gotten gold. Now, by illicitly gotten, it's illicit because the shogun didn't know about it, so therefore it couldn't get his taxation on.
So, Steve, think that I have zero knowledge of Japanese history.
Sure.
Because I basically have zero knowledge of Japanese history. What you get out of this movie, knowing zero knowledge about Japanese history, is dude killing bad guys.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like
So
this
it's
guy.
like the impetus behind it is very lost. I could easily see how this movie would be much more popular to someone who is either Japanese or knows a lot about Japanese history, or is a big fan of the Kurosawa films and such like that.
Yeah,
where a knowledge of history really benefits your.
Not really though.
You
To be fair,
you don't need a knowledge of history. They explained that this was all illegal gold that the Tokugawa shogunate couldn't tax.
having the knowledge of Japanese history doesn't really help the movie. It just forms some context.
And I guess that's where I'm coming from, like the context.
But it really,
You're lost.
it really doesn't help the movie, honestly. Here's an entertaining movie that is pretty much the same thing. The live-action movie Bullet Train.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastically amusing movie. It's pretty much the same fucking plot. Like, hands down.
Guy just mows through bad guys.
Yeah.
One at a time.
For a MacGuffin.
Well, it's
A
also,
MacGuffin and a convenient past.
Well,
And a woman with a poisoned vagina.
So David got
Integral plot point.
David was
So-
traumatized about 20 minutes into it when one of the bad people excreted a venomous snake from their vagina.
she gets she has snakes. She's danger tattoos and with danger noodles on them, and
I too love hiding snakes in holes,
It's the bonus prison.
my own holes.
in your vagina.
Well, I don't have one of those. I've heard of hiding a snake in the bush, but Jesus.
Nice. So a selling point of Ninja Scroll are the flashy and well-constructed combat sequences.
Ah, yes. Vagina snake. Top tier combat.
I'm talking
That was a combat sequence.
I'm talking the swordsmanship. So there's the battle with the blind guy in the bamboo forest,
The classic.
or there was the fight with the guy that caused you trauma and nightmares with the wasps that live in him.
Thank you. I had forgotten about that part.
Compare the action sequences, especially the pre-seizure Pokemon flashing lights events, versus how combat sequences are done nowadays with something like Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known for the quality and fluidity of its fighting. Comparisons or contrasts between both products. Regardless of the quality of the artwork, talking the directing of the combat itself and how it unravels on the screen. Can you see similarities?
This is way more intense than I anticipated this recording was going to be.
I kind of can. I mean, definitely the fight scenes are well choreographed for what they were. There were a couple of scenes that could have been fleshed out more. Like, they could have been longer. Newer fight scenes tend to be longer. They tend to have a lot more fisticuffs, a lot more action, a lot more stuff.
But are we just desensitized with the prolonged combats from Dragon Ball and One Piece?
So like the combats were real. They looked really realistic.
Okay.
They
were too short for your attention?
They're like real sword fights. It's like a real sword fight lasts like 5 seconds and it's over.
It's pretty quick. There's not a lot of time in a real sword fight to monologue.
Right. It leans very heavily into the realism aspect of sword fighting.
Well, the film was very highly inspired by samurai films from the 70s.
Yeah. So like
100%.
So like there isn't this drawn out combat sequence. It's very realistic, minus the, insane blood pressure that these people have. One fart gone wrong and you're blowing your intestines out your anus.
If you've seen Kill Bill, you know what this man is talking about.
Bloodbath upon bloodbath.
The guy who's pumping the blood through the blood splatter machine is just overworking his job. Is pumping
like some of the blood splatters, like when people got cut in half. I swear to God, you saw their bodies start flying up. Like.
How about the shot, the blood shower at the very beginning of the movie when everybody was just cut in half in the trees, and then there's just blood everywhere.
Like that. So this is gonna sound really morbid.
Go on.
My interest got piqued in the idea of what would fall faster, blood or person?
Blood or bodies?
I think we've already figured that out because there is just a standard velocity of plummeting.
David does have a point because as a former physics major,
because like in a vacuum they hit at the same time.
Yeah, the vacuum.
Sure. What has more drag, viscera or blood?
Because technically there should not be a pause, as there was, of the body hitting the ground and then getting rained on. Blood.
True.
Especially if the blood is coming from below them. Realistically, the blood should have hit first and then the bodies.
I didn't even notice that part.
But let's say the physics of this world works in such a way that
they're trying to be really realistic.
But that the blood is shot in an upward direction first.
But the one where it specifically rained, he was vertical, and it was from
But you saw the bodies kind of turning, so the lower portion of the body would be spraying upwards, and then the upper body would be spraying also upwards after it flips over. So,
we just need to do this in real life. Steve, we're sacrificing your son for science.
I don't think he's going to have enough blood in his body for this to work.
You're right. We need to increase the blood pressure.
We need to increase the volume, too.
We'll have him do a couple laps around the block first.
No, I'm telling you, he needs more than 3 liters in him for this to work properly. Because
there's probably an easier way to do this. We get a bucket of pig's blood pretty easy. Then we just throw a carcass out of a tree.
This is turning into a black metal concert suddenly.
But no, God, like the blood pressure of those guys in that movie, just insane. One wrong sneeze.
It was thematically accentuated to just rain blood.
It's because of the samurai movies from that one samurai movie from like the 50s where the dude fucked up. Because of that one samurai movie, every person has a blood pressure of like 200 over 12,000. Some dude like cranked the blood pressure up because he's like, I'm gonna impress my boss. And then he looked at it like right before they do the scene and he's like, it's a little too much. And then they did the scene and it was just and they're like, and the dude's like, I'm gonna get fired. Like I'm gonna get fired. And the director's like, I love it. And he's like, cool. Okay. And then every movie wanted to be that.
Everybody I knew in school had watched Ninja Scroll. Everybody had watched it. Again, as you said, for us growing up, this movie was almost required watching as a nerd who saw anime.
Who got into Japanese animation.
Didn't even get into it. Saw it. Like if you saw Akira, there's a good chance that you saw one of 2 other films. Those 2 other films are either Akira or Fist of the North Star.
Fair.
You watched one of these 3 movies. They were the epitome of blood, gore.
They were the benchmark.
That's just how it was.
Well, to be honest, too, the pool of available titles to watch, at least from a legal standpoint, was very shallow.
Something very important about this movie.
Okay.
Decidedly, 0 ninja scrolls.
Well, there was one,
Doesn't count.
That was a message.
but it was still a scroll of paper. And it was by a ninja. She was literally a ninja.
Doesn't
Did
count.
they even really talk
Doesn't
about
count.
Jubei being a ninja or not?
No, Steve.
Yes.
Did they mention
Yes,
it being-
they call him a ninja.
Steve.
But still, decidedly 0 ninja scrolls.
Fair.
And she was a kunoichi?
Just she's a poison taster. Of the Koga clan.
Fair. Ninja
The-
adjacent.
The Koga ninjas.
The Koga ninjas. That's right. Don't fuck with the Koga ninja.
How many times did they reference the Koga ninja clan?
Why do you
that
think
movie.
every time we play Shogun, I get excited when I take over Koga?
I don't know, because you're a fucking weeb.
That is an insult, sir.
Good. You made me watch this movie.
I did. Do you...
I want to make you suffer. I want to make you watch things
Wait,
that you're
did you,
going to
did
hate.
you
Wait, did
truly
you
suffer
suffer?
through this?
The rape scene made me really uncomfortable.
That's
I'm not gonna
understandable,
lie.
and that's
a
respectable.
lot of the rape made me really, really turned off from this movie. I'm not gonna
So
lie.
I guess I'm not definitely going to get you to watch Yurotsu Kidoji.
Sexual assault for me is a really hard topic.
It's understandable,
So
and that's
I
respectable.
would really, really, really prefer not to watch it.
There is a sexual assault scene in Akira.
There is, and that was a hard too. Like
It's
the rest of the
understandable.
rest of the movie was really good. I actually honestly forgot about it because of that.
Sure.
But there was a lot in this one.
There was.
And it was like I would have been okay if the scene that we have chosen for the title thing didn't exist.
Manhandling by Rock Boy.
Yeah, that was
Let me interject that it's definitely a framing device for the bad guys. It's definitely something that is used.
right. But you can make a villain
you're right,
not sexually
You're
assault
right.
people.
You can't.
Yeah, I'm going
But
to say
you're-
it's not necessary
You can.
for the plot.
You're right. It's not.
And that's a
you're right,
couple of
it's
issues.
not necessary.
Yeah.
But it is something that, especially in this kind of a situation, in feudal times and whatnot, that this is something that possibly would happen to a female ninja that is in the situation that she finds herself in.
Sure.
I'm not justifying
Here,
it. I'm
let
just
me-
saying
let me
the
frame it.
bad guy is. This is something that a person of ill repute is going to do.
Let me frame this better. I would have been better off it was a tell me don't show me.
Tell you more, don't show more. Because they didn't
Correct.
show as much as they could have.
Correct.
Nor, honestly, did it go as far as it could have.
Right. It's
Each
just
time it was pretty much interrupted before it went
Too far.
right,
really
but
far.
still I don't want to see it.
Sure.
I can see.
It is uncomfortable for me.
That's understandable and respectable.
I can handle it in small doses
Mm-hmm.
if it's really important for the plot.
But it was kind of a plot device in a couple of instances.
It was.
Not that it was necessarily important, but it was there. It accelerated.
They could have made the villains not do that, and it
Correct.
would still be like
The first scene with Rock Boy is
A little gratuitous.
no, not
Oh,
that.
but
Not that.
it is-
Its purpose within the story actually makes sense in how it leads to Rock Boy's downfall. The other one with the one
like,
dude,
okay, if
the shadow
if
dude.
that was the only one, and then we didn't see
this,
any of the other stuff.
there was really only
could have been
one
tolerable.
other sexual assault, and that was definitely not needed.
I don't know. You haven't seen Sword Art Online, but Paul has.
I have.
The Alfheim arc.
The end of the Alfheim arc was something that I have arguments with people a lot, and it's actually for the opposite reason that you're going to argue it. It's because it actually made me hate the bad guy to the point where I wanted him to get shoved in a wood chipper as fast as possible. Like if there would have been a truck that backed up in that hospital parking lot when Kirito and bad guy faced off in the real world, I would have been like, if they were to like back that wood chipper up, throw him in, just
Right, but the point I'm trying to make is like there was a point where it was fine, and then it got to be too much. Like
I could see that.
it's
I can
hard
see-
it's hard to explain because I've
Paul may not know this. David definitely knows this. In my general dislike of fan service.
Yeah.
And there is a time and a place for sexuality within a story, but it shouldn't be in all stories. In certain ways.
The amount of sexualization in this movie was just too much for my liking.
It was done for a very specific reason. Just the same way that you have sex scenes in a action movie.
I know it's for horny teenagers, but this is no longer.
It's for the male gaze.
I don't watch things to be a pervert. I watch things because I want to be entertained. I want to understand the story, and the background, and all this stuff. And when it's just designed to sexualize women, I lose interest.
And you do have to also remember this is a 30-year-old.
Right, but there's also really good 30-year-old movies
you're
where there's
right.
plot and story, and like Akira. Akira doesn't need, and that's even older. That's what, 80s?
88.
Okay,
the movie came out.
So an almost 40-year-old movie
Correct.
has a far better story, plot devices, and is far more entertaining in my opinion than this movie.
It's also far better animated.
And far better animated.
Much
And
better.
it didn't need. Like, yeah, there's that one scene where she gets her shirt ripped off. Beyond that, it's a fantastic movie. And it doesn't need any of that sexualization.
Ninja Scroll is a product of gratuitousness.
Yes.
Highlander 2. Did we need the sex scene in Highlander 2?
Nope.
Bringing up a shitty 90s movie.
But we definitely needed the blowjob scene in Blade. I'm not, like, a prude and don't, like, hate all
Not
sex
saying
scenes. It's just... You get a certain amount of sexual assault scenes in a movie before I just go,
I'm done.
fuck this movie.
Fuck this movie, yeah.
I can accept enough, but as soon as it crosses that threshold for me, it's just like, I give up. Like, the end of this movie was cool. Like, there are cool things about this movie.
There are some good fight scenes.
There's good fight scenes.
The characterization and the character design is a little much for some of them.
Jogoro is... Or Jogoro, not Jogoro. What the fuck is it? Junpei.
Junpei.
He is...
He's Sylvester Stallone.
He is a cardboard box.
He's
And that is insulting to cardboard boxes.
He's Sylvester Stallone. He is the firm-chinned, unemotional hero.
Who is also a punching bag.
He shows weakness by getting pummeled, but never actually succumbing to his wounds.
If he talked like Sylvester Stallone the entire movie, I would have just...
The thing that I wake up in the morning and I sometimes find it hard to like make it to the bathroom because I hurt.
He's got
This
got
guy.
that dumbass strength.
His constitution is 22.
This guy like literally gets the tar beat out of him, and then the oil gets beat out of the tar, and then the like gasoline gets beat out of the oil, and he's still able to like freely function.
Well, you know, it's the standard action meme of
I'm sorry, I obsess
the
about
hero gets
this.
the shit kicked out of them, but they have that hero defense mechanism in play.
I do feel like this could have been longer.
The movie would have ended
been.
a lot sooner if his bitch ass would have gone to the infirmary.
that first like after he got like punched through that stone lantern,
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah, like collapsed vertebrae, punctured lung, kidney problematic.
I will give him the resiliency. Because, like, there's times where I sneeze and I'm done for the day. Like,
I mean, that's the miraculous ability of being a fictional character.
I've seen some fictional characters sneeze and be done for the day. Can we get, like, an action show
What do you mean?
where the hero, like, you think this person is, like, the main hero because he gets a couple episodes, like, being heroic. And then, like, 2 to 3 episodes in, he, like, sneezes, throws out his back, and then the actual hero of the anime comes in.
God, I want to say that something exists like that. Yeah, I
feel like that would be-
there is something like
I
that.
feel like that would be fucking hilarious. Like, you're following this character, you're like, oh, look, another 2-dimensional character, and blah, 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 blah. He's a, 80s action hero. And then he sneezes, throws out his back, and then, like, this awesome, like, character development new protagonist that's actually the main character of the series and was, like, in the background
I
the
want
whole
to
time.
say something kind of exists like that. For anybody who's listening who has an inkling of something that's like this, let us know.
Subvert all of my expectations. Every single one of them.
That's why I like when heroes don't always win at the end of the day.
I like heroes winning.
You've seen one of the seminal, preeminent anime of 90s anime fans.
Okay.
Does that give you a broader window into 90s anime fandom?
Y'all a bunch of fucking perverts.
Yes. We had as much...
We're looking for an actual window, not like the door we walk through.
We had as...
It literally gives me insight as to why Marco thinks anime is porn.
We had as much hentai as non-hentai available.
Exactly, and now I know
and the
why.
non-hentai had plenty of sex and nudity as well.
Now I know why Marco is like, oh, anime is just a bunch of porn, because he grew up thinking
in
that
the 90s.
That's all that fucking existed.
And that's what the media talked about too.
Exactly. So it makes sense as to why people look at people that like anime like, you're a fucking pervert. That's why I thought for the longest, like, when I found Bridget watched anime, I was like, oh, she's a fucking pervert.
Yeah, but remember...
And then she showed me, like, actual animes, and I'm like, oh, this isn't perverted.
In
like,
defense of me and Steve, we were of that ripe age where it's like...
We were horny teenagers.
There was no internet. We were...
Not the internet like there is now. It took a long time to get porno on the internet.
But, like,
it was hard.
There wasn't internet. There was, like, scrambled Cinemax.
Yeah,
there was
anime. I was the generation of unrestricted internet access.
Yes. Yeah, you guys had access to like execution websites and all sorts of other crazy mind-altering shit.
Yeah.
So,
to put it into perspective, that's what people like me and Steve grew up with.
Yeah.
Me and Steve were at that perfect time
execution
in
videos?
the world.
No, perverted anime.
We grew up in that perfect time frame where we were horny teenagers, and this was the anime that we were given. It was,
yes.
We had just transitioned.
It's not that we went out and sought it, it's what there was.
We had just transitioned from awesome cartoons, which were most of the time...
the afternoon weekday cartoons.
Translated anime anyway, or Batman the Animated Series, which was, a gem of a thing.
There were the Disney cartoons that were badass back then.
Tailspin that were amazing.
Rescue Rangers.
DuckTales, which was like
Gargoyles
Indiana
later
Jones
on.
on crack.
I fucking...
We had just transitioned out of that, and then here's this colorful box on a shelf that looks kind of like some of the cartoons we grew up with. We're like, oh, this looks cool. Then there was titties in it.
Well, yeah, it's the old trope of cartoons have violence.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, we all grew up on Rambo and Friday the 13th
Rambo,
and
Terminator.
Why do I feel like
we were just seeing it in cartoon form now?
Why do I feel like this movie was the first titty you ever saw, Paul?
No, it definitely was not the first titty he saw. I'm pretty sure the first titty he saw was about 5 years old of The Hustler.
Oh, God. Okay.
I'm probably not wrong.
No comment.
Like I said, it's not that we necessarily sought it out. Not specifically because we knew what the contents were. We sought it out because we knew it was anime and we just wanted to consume more anime, and it's what was there.
I'm just going to say this movie is a Jesus take the wheel out of 10. Like, I can see why people liked it. I can see that the art quality is very good. Like, even Bridget said, like, the art quality of Ninja Scroll is really good. She really liked the art.
I like the art. But then again, I'm a fan of all the manga entertainment.
The color palette is
brutalist
really
art.
There's not a lot of depth to the
No,
color.
there's not a lot of color, but
there's not a lot of shading.
Like the lines.
But the story is puddle deep.
There is no story.
Right. Like I said, Remonster had more story.
He just goes down a road.
8 bad
and
guys.
There's battles. Yeah, just fight these 8. There's no story to Kill Bill.
This movie is fight. I hate Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm not defending Kill Bill.
This movie is Fight Club.
It's about as deep as
No,
Kill
Fight
Bill.
Club is a story. That's about taking down
No,
the
sorry.
system.
Just like...
Oh, yeah, it's just a Fight Club.
It's just a Fight Club.
Correct.
Like,
this is literally a Fight Club.
you, asshole that nobody
here's
knows.
next combat. Here's strange characterization and abilities.
Actually, it's Kill Bill with less plot. It's literally like
Ninja...
next guy.
Because we have no backstory.
Ninja Scroll is like a Dungeons and Dragons DM that doesn't know how to roleplay and just continually throws combat at you, hoping you'll get a story out of that.
Yes, you are not wrong.
You are not wrong.
Not wrong.
The DM's just going like, oh, fuck, I don't know how to tell a story.
Wait, you
combat.
killed this guy? You can't kill this guy yet.
I need him for the story.
Again.
My opinion of the movie is higher than I thought it was going to be going into it because I've been meaning to revisit this for a long time and get my modern perspective on it.
You're not hormone-addled brain?
Well, no, not even that. It's I have seen uncountable volumes of anime since I first saw this. I've seen drastic stylistic changes and then drastic changes in the type of story I want to get out of an anime, which has shifted away from this power violence male fantasy thing. I did enjoy some of the choreography. Some of the scenes are still very iconic and inspirational. The whole mood of the battle where everything is red on black is way cooler than I remember it being. That was a really cool shot.
I feel like the second guy,
Yeah.
I think that's how he controls people. I think that's how he controlled the woman in the very beginning.
Oh, perhaps.
Because
the one warning everybody of the plague.
They don't explain it, but as we were getting up to it, and I was like, I don't understand this, and it kind of like was like, well, you know what? Maybe that's how he does the mind controlling, which is weird, because like how does that get you mind control? Almost as far away from the brain as you can get.
I don't know. We've got a dude who literally has a wasp hive in his back.
Yes.
We have a guy who loses a leg and just hops away like he's the fucking Black Knight.
Same guy.
The bee guy?
The bee guy. Oh, the old man? Oh, the bee guy. The guy with the bees.
The bee guy.
Yeah.
Is literally
Quasimodo?
Typhus from Warhammer.
Okay. I will take your word for that.
Typhus is a Death Guard captain. The Death Guard are the followers of Nurgle. Typhus has like many titles. He's like first captain of the Death Guard, mortal herald of Nurgle. But his biggest one is that he is the host of the Destroyer Hive. And on his fucking back are a bunch of like calcified shoots that outcome the flies of Nurgle that spread disease.
Nice.
And a lot of times when Typhus is like talking in books, they're like, and the Destroyer Hive buzzed as he tickled his wiener. Like,
Sure.
But to be honest, the way he died was pretty dope.
The way he died was pretty dope.
The fact that, like, first off, Jinbei slashes his leg from underwater up through the branch, up through his leg, which causes him to lose his balance, and then he falls into the water, and then to escape the water, the bees kill him.
They punch through his ass.
Punch through him to get to safety.
That was a pretty good fight scene.
Now this just makes me realize that the way you beat Typhus in the lore of Warhammer
is put him in water.
Put
him in water. All right, so Paul, your final thoughts? After having watched it for quite a while?
After having watched it, after not seeing it for forever, I enjoyed it. As I stated before, it is a very good popcorn movie. It's a good movie to sit down, turn your brain off, watch some gore, watch some anime titties. Not just for those reasons, but it's a good popcorn flick. It's a movie that you can like kind of shut your brain off, watch it. You'll have a good time. As David said, it runs long, but I also feel it runs short, and I feel it runs short just on character development.
Yeah.
I feel like I want not just the heroes to be developed more.
And they were barely developed to begin with.
They're barely developed to begin with, but I would like the heroes to be developed a little more. Like maybe the mission that Jinbei was on in the beginning, if we would have gotten that as an intro.
Sure.
Instead of just the cold open of him fighting
three dudes
that were not part of his posse or were part of his posse. We're not 100% sure. Get that. And then if I were to turn this into an anime, I would turn it into a 2-season anime. And that
seems pretty excessive.
And I would have an intro that would explain Jinbei and possibly Kurosa.
The woman?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
The rise of the Tokugawa
Kagama. No. But would maybe explain her like poison vagina a little more. And
she's a poison taster.
Yeah, she's a poison. Her body is infected with all of the poisons she's consumed.
But you wouldn't think that that's a thing.
It's existed in other media.
I did not take poison taster as a job and go like, your vagina's poisoned. If they would have done that, explained her special ability a little more.
Yeah.
And then also given a little more time to each of the bad guys, if not to explain why they're with the organization or doing what they're doing, or even explain the organization's background, to at least flesh out the fight scenes to give
Why is Rock Dude Rock Dude?
Yeah, like
Why are these people demonic mutants?
Yeah, why are they all just crazy why does the dude make electricity from his chest?
Because it was
How
just
does that happen?
it was just something slick to put together.
To quote the Hound from Game of Thrones, they're a bunch of cunts.
they are, but I'd like more than that. But anyway,
I'll give you a season. 2 seasons is a little.
I think 2 seasons follows with the original break of the
Blade
story.
of the Immortal ran for 2 seasons, and that's 26 fucking Tankoban.
Okay, give me a season and a half. Give me 15 episodes.
How about a season and a movie?
Give me 15. Give me 15 episodes. Give me enough episodes where each bad guy gets like 2 episodes.
You get a mini series, take it or leave it.
You get a 4-part OAV, 45 minutes each.
You get a mini series, take it or leave it.
But yeah, that's the only thing I did not like about it. I like information. I play Magic.
Yeah.
I'm into the lore of Warhammer. I watch more anime than God, and I really think that I like info. I like my info, and I like knowing what's going on. Watching this movie, you don't know shit.
There was literally no motivation for anybody to be doing any of this outside of like 2 characters.
Only motivation you find out at the end, and it's gold. It's like,
well, we knew that from the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, you find out hardcore at the end.
What do you mean? The old guy is working for the Tokugawa shogunate.
We know his motivation. We know Genma's motivation, and we know Junbei's motivation, and we know Junbei's girl's motivation.
See, that's 4. That's double the amount you said.
You're right.
That's double the amount, but it's also like literally
But it's
like
bare minimum.
Like a fourth of the characters.
We also know the guy, the leader of that small
What if I want to
motivation.
know? What if I want to know what all the ninjas running up and down the gangplank had for breakfast that morning? What if I want to know that, huh?
Bro, I'll tell you that they had rice. Pretty sure they're just getting paid in rice.
I mean, there's a lot of ninjas there. That
Maybe
could be
a bit
at
of
least a
natto.
season in itself.
Just
What if Steve the ninja running up the gangplank needed his tale told?
A heartwarming story about his elderly mother.
He had a wife and a kid, and here he is holding up this wooden ship.
Beam just burning around him.
Holding up this wooden ship, being a part of it because it's made of ninjas.
I think we lost the plot of this podcast.
Hey, and at least Death by Gold in this one was a little bit more dramatic and traumatic than Death by Gold in Game of Thrones.
There was way too much gold on that fucking ship.
There's also way too much ship on that ship.
For the
Way
amount,
too much shit on that shit.
like I get it. There was the ninjas, the same 2 seconds of film were used
Again and again.
and then a lot of ninjas brought in a lot of
Look,
boxes
they
of gold.
blew the budget on the bosom. That's where all the money went. The art team rigorously studying boobies. All the budget went.
All those hours at the strip club, man. It is a classic samurai film in anime form.
It is, yeah.
Just,
it kind of is.
It's just sword fights.
Fights and overly muscled meatheads.
Yep. It's a samurai film in anime form, and you could tell where it got its inspiration.
It's a samurai film if it was done by Schwarzenegger's team.
And the most important part, titties.
I got it. I will take a live action Ninja Scroll only if it's done by Michael Bay.
There was an amount of explosion, so that's not without merit.
That might be worse.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the diatribe of 2 old men and someone with a little bit easier of a childhood than us.
Help, I'm locked in a basement.
He's not. This is the 2nd floor, but he's still locked in here. Like and subscribe, comment, follow us. You know the drill.
Look at my Instagram. I've been posting regularly now. Semi-regularly.
If you want to see really, really, really old content and listen to my voice, there is the L3 D&D podcast on YouTube. Go find it.
I will
it's in the depths and the bowels.
I will link to that in the body of the video.
Unfortunately, it is incomplete, but we had fun while it ran.
All right. The next side quest might be me watching season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen.
It's good.
I reserve my opinion.
Where we'll have another guest.
Yes.
Will be seen at the time. Well, not seen, but heard.
All right. Thanks again. We'll see you all later.
Deuces.
Later.